Hey everybody, Brian here, back with the games I beat over January and February of 2020. 2020 futuristic date. Start off with some good games here. I did beat quite a few RPGs and some very good games in these 2 past months. So we'll start off with, for the Nintendo Switch, a game I got for Christmas thanks to my mom. Thank you, Mom. That's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. This is a fantastic platformer. It plays a lot like Donkey Kong Country, the first Donkey Kong Country, or Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3. If you haven't played Yooka-Laylee, the first one, it's more of a 3D platformer like Banjo-Kazooie. You collect a bunch of pages instead of jiggies, and there's big worlds to explore. But the catch on that was the worlds start off smaller, and when you get more pages, they expand and get bigger. Some of the worlds are better than others. The first world was fantastic. The swamp world was good. I found some of them not to be as good. I didn't care for the casino near the end, but otherwise Yooka-Laylee was a good game that I enjoyed back in when I played it in 2016, 2017, and I enjoyed it. This is I like a lot more. It's a 2D platformer, so they got rid of the 3D platforming. They went straight to a 2D platformer, Platonic. This is their second game, and the big thing I love about this is there's a world map, but it's not just move to the level, pick a stage. It's a very explorative world map where you go in the world map and there's a section that's blocked off and you have to solve a little puzzle in the world to unlock it. Maybe a cannon fires to drop down a bridge, or there's like a water that needs to be raised or lowered, and depending on how you do that, it also affects the world. So if you raise the water, maybe a world that wasn't flooded will be flooded. You can go back in, and the stage is completely different. And when it's dry, it's completely different. There are letters to collect, like Donkey Kong Country. I think they're letters. And there's also like other things to collect in the world. I'm trying to remember this because I beat this early last year, but I did 100% it. And when you, I shouldn't say 100% because to 100% you have to beat the Impossible Lair without dying on your first time, and that's very hard to do. But I did get all the collectibles, and I really enjoyed my time with it. Now, the game starts off, and the main protagonist, capital B, is invading the Hive Kingdom, and he has the Impossible Lair there, and you jump into it, and you're more likely going to die, and then you get spit out, and then Queen Phoebe tells you, hey, collect my battalion, and then conquer the Impossible Lair. So your whole goal is, once you beat a level, you get a B that acts as a shield or a hit point, so you can take one extra hit in the Impossible Lair. So there's 48 Bs, and they allow you to get 48 hits. So I went through all the levels, collected all the Bs, and all the collectibles. Then I attached the Impossible Lair, and it took me quite a few tries because it's all like platformers, you trial and error, learn where things are, learn to play control. And it was a hard level, but not impossible with the extra hits. Now to do it the first time without getting them would be very hard. But the graphics on this game are outstanding. The music is great. It's by Grant Kirkhope, I think, and David Wise, or I'm getting those two confused, one of the two. It's very awesome. I like it a lot. It's one of the best platformers I've played in the past since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And it's a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. It's really, really cheap. It's like $30 regularly. And yeah, it's fantastic. And the next game I beat was the Wonderful 101 on Wii U. I've had this since it came out in 2013, and never really sunk a lot of time into it, but I wanted to play it, so I sat down and played it, and at first it was very hard to get my head around how to play it, because you start off as a single person superhero, and you draw these circles to collect items or members of your team, and they get added to your group, and you can, when enemies appear, you can like attack them with Y. The more people you have in your group will like shoot out, and they'll like stun them if you keep hitting them, and then you can attack them by using the right analog stick or the touch screen on the Wii U controller to draw shapes. So the first shape you get is a fist, which is a circle. So you draw the circle and you turn into a big red fist because you're Wonder Red and your power is a fist. And then you use the A button or B button to attack. And you can do combos later by getting more moves. First you can do like it's a rising uppercut. You can do a spin move when you get more moves. And as you get more members, you can draw bigger and bigger shapes, and your fist gets bigger. Then you collect the second Wonder member, Wonder Blue, and his is a sword. So you draw a straight line, or you use the right analog stick to draw a straight line, and it turns into a blue sword. So the whole gist of the game is to combo these together. So you're running around and you want to draw with the right analog stick, almost like a commie. You draw the shapes and you turn into a circle for sword. There's a straight line for or circle for a fist, a straight line for sword. And then after Wonder Blue, you get Wonder Green, who's a gun. You draw like an L for a gun, and that's another one you can add. And then there's Wonder Pink, who's a whip. You draw like a S for a whip. And there's Wonder Yellow, who's a hammer. It's like a line with a circle for a hammer. And there's Wonder Bomb, who's purple, or is it Wonder Purple? Or Black, who you draw a circle with a line for a bomb. And there's Wonder White, which is a Z, and he has claws. And at first I didn't know I was playing like a traditional game, and I was having a really hard time. And I did beat the game, and I was still having a hard time, but not as bad. And as I was playing it, I found myself having really, really addicted to it, having a lot of fun to it. There's something about this game. When I did do combos, when I'd like juggle somebody in the air and then draw, I can draw like a gun and juggle them even more, or I can just brute force my way and draw like just a punch and keep punching them, and then maybe do a sword. I found that using the sword was a lot easier in the circle at first to do the fists. The view is zoomed out, so it's always overhead, and there's a lot of things going on, so you're seeing a lot of characters on the screen, over 100 of them that you can collect. And when you see little people that yell help, you draw a circle around them and then collect them, and they become temporary Wonder Army to your Wonderful 101. And the more you collect, the bigger your sword or your shape you draw, and the more powerful it is. There's also a shop, so it takes place over, I think, eight missions, 3 missions per main mission, and it's broken up after the first part of the third 3 mission. It breaks up. You can go to a shop, and you get coins depending on how well you do. You get ranked on that, and you can buy like certain moves. So the first move I bought was a block, where you hit the trigger button and it'll block if a projectile comes towards you to bounce off of you. And there's a dodge out of the way with the left trigger, where you'll like spring out of the way like a slinky. Those moves are very critical to get. And I found out when you're playing them, there's a little like your robot buddy that flies around with you. This sounds really complicated, but there's a little marker next to these moves, and I figured that's telling me to get those moves, so I bought those first, the ones with a little robot marker next to them. I had a real hard time with this game. I was getting my butt kicked, but as I kept playing and playing and playing, I got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, to the point where I was really having fun with it. I never played a game quite like this. It plays like a mixture between a typical brawler, but with motion, like drawing like Okami shapes to do your attacks, and then once they're drawn, you use the A or the button to attack with, and you string those drawings together to juggle people and get a better rating, to get better money, to buy better moves. So you can play on easy, very easy, and normal. I played through on normal. It's hard, but it's very forgiving in that when you die, you don't really lose much. You get sent back to right where you were, and you can keep trying over and over again. So it's not hard in that facet, don't get me wrong. It's hard in trying to wrap your head around all these systems that you got to do. But once you do, it becomes really, really fun. And I beat the game once, and I kind of want to go back to it again, but because it's a game that's infinitely replayable, and you get better and better and better, and it keeps hooking you more and more and more. The story is crazy. It's funny. It's like Power Rangers, monsters battling, and the ending of this game is just out of this world amazing, and just it's one of the craziest ending sequences, boss sequences, and I've seen. It's just look it up on YouTube if you want to. It's just insane. Um, and when I was done playing this, I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. This is one of the most underappreciated games, I think, of the past 10 years. And I know definitely on the Wii U or that generation. A lot of people don't like it, and it sends off a vibe of not liking it, but you have to stick with it. And the more you stick with it, the more you want to play it, and the better you will get. And I beat the game, I think I did. And once you beat the game, you can go back and collect more items you missed and find more secrets, and you keep all your moves and you get better and better. It's really meant to be replayed. So I only played through it once on normal. I do want to go through it again and get the stuff I missed and then go through it again. And I want this game to be a game I play maybe once every year. It's very, very good. It's really cheap on Wii U. You can pick it up for like 20 bucks. It didn't sell very well. And this is from the people who made Bayonetta, and some other action games like Vanquish, and before that they made Beautiful Joe and Okami. They were known as Clover, and I think some of the people moved over to become Platinum Games. And it is coming out on the Switch later next month, and I highly recommend, if you do get it or try it, stick with it. It's not a surprisingly long game. It took me 20 hours to get through, but the first time you play it will be very learning, basically. And just realize, just set it to whatever you can, and just go through it and just enjoy the craziness and the absurdity of this game. It's very colorful. There's a lot going on, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate what's going on. There's sections of this game where you go into a room and it switches to the Wii U gamepad, and you gotta use it to look around and then see on the screen what's happening. And it corresponds, like maybe there's a monster's firing a laser and you into this hole you're in, and you go in. You have to look at the screen where it's firing and then move it down on the screen on your Wii pad out of there. It sounds crazy. I'm saying a lot about it, but it really is one of the most fascinating and different games I've ever played. I'm saying a lot about it without really explaining it very well, and I'm sorry, but just do yourself a favor. Maybe if you're curious about it, Google some gameplay footage about it, and take a look about it. Even if you don't think you'll like it, stick with it for, I think, the first few hours. I'd say about, once I was past about 5 hours, I was really dragged into it and really wanting to see more of it. The characters are all cool and funny, and it's very colorful and just fantastic. Next up, for the Sega Genesis, I beat Phantasy Star 4, End of the Line, and wow, this game was fantastic. It was my first Phantasy Star game, and I didn't know which one to play, so I didn't play many RPGs on the Genesis, so I figured, I'll give one a shot, and this game exceeded my expectations in every way. It's a late Genesis release. I think it came out around 94, 95, something like that, maybe around there. And it's very large, colorful, the music's excellent, the battle system's great, the story is good, the characters are excellent, it moves really fast, you don't have to grind, you can just move from point to point to point, you're always at the right level as long as you fight. You don't have to grind. It's fantastic. Makes me want to play the other Phantasy Star games. The battle system is turn-based, but there's also like chains of combos you can do. So if you do a certain order where one character casts a fire spell and the other does a attack spell that hits everybody, you'll do like this firestorm move. But you can set text up where it's macros where you set, okay, this guy attacks and does this, this, and this, so you don't have to enter each manually. There's a series of 8 or 10 of them where you set one up. You say, okay, number 3 is like this guy attacks, this person does magic. It does them in that order without you having to enter them manually. The world is very nice, and there's a lot of like it's big. There's not a lot of to do between the towns, so you're moving from town to town and doing things. And you get like a ship or a hovercraft, and you battle in the hovercraft monsters, and you get like a land speeder, and you eventually get a spaceship, and you can go to other planets of the Aldine system, I think it is. And it basically takes place after Phantasy Star 2. And I didn't play any of them, but I researched a little after I beat this. But you don't have to know about Phantasy Star to enjoy this game. I enjoyed every second of this game. It's very, very beginner friendly, so you don't have to grind or anything like that. The characters are outstanding, and there's a part near the end where there's kind of a main cast. It's kind of like in Final Fantasy IV, where it switches characters all the time. You have no control over who takes out, but you do settle on a set 4 or 5 group of people that stay with you for the second half of the game. And in the end of the game, you can choose. There's other people that came throughout the game, and you can pick for the final battle who you want to take with you for that final battle. And it was a hard choice to make, to decide who to take. I think I ended up taking who did I take? I forget. I think it was Han. I took. But it's a very hard decision to take. But it's a fantastic game. One of the best 16-bit RPGs I've never played. And it's because I had a Super Nintendo. I didn't have a Genesis. And I'm so glad I played and beat this one. It's up there with the best on the SNES as far as I'm concerned. And there's cool little scenes between, like, the cutscenes are done with comic panels, and the artwork's great. And they'll pop up over each other telling the story with the expressions of the characters. And it's pretty fantastic, and I kind of want to play the other Phantasy Star games. Maybe I'll give the first one, because I have a Master System copy of Phantasy Star 1. Kind of want to play that. So Phantasy Star 4 is excellent. Next up on the Sega Dreamcast, this is the first Dreamcast game I ever beat. This is Skies of Arcadia, a 2000 Japanese RPG developed by a lot of the same people who did Phantasy Star 4. And this is a very cool themed RPG where it's all about pirates. So you feel that there's a sense of adventure to this game, exploring. It's all about exploration. You make finds out in the world, and you take them back to a guild, Explorers Guild, and you get paid for them. That's like optional stuff you can do. But it follows a sky pirate named Vice, and the girl here is Rika. I want to say Rika. I forget her name already. The redheaded girl, she's your pirate friend too. And then there's this girl. The story starts off where you see this ship chasing her, this girl right here, and they capture her, and you like board the ship, and you find her, and you rescue her, and you take her back to your island, and you're questioning her about what's going on, and then she gets kidnapped again, and your father gets kidnapped. You have to rescue him because he's like the main pirate. And then from there you go to bust him out, and then from there it opens up. You meet other characters in this world. There's a Drakkar, a like old grizzled pirate that's going after this like sky whale like Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. And then you meet this pretty boy pirate. I forget his name, and he's being chased by this girl pirate who really has a crush on him, and he's like running from her. And then there's this prince of the empire that captured your father. This empire wants to get all these stones to unlock power to rule the world, and then he doesn't like that, so he breaks away from them. He joins you. There's a lot of cool characters. All the characters in this game are great, but what really makes this game great is the sense of adventure and exploration. You feel like a pirate, like I guess a pirate would, because you get a ship, and there's ship battles where you like take turn-based turns in a ship-based combat against other ships, and there's boss battles against bosses within your ship, and you get better equipment for your ship, like armor and weapons and guns and stuff. It's not to beat the ships, you got to do the outcome in a certain way, so it's not like you can't win unless you do these moves in a certain way. But the graphics are very, very good. Very simple, but it's a 2000 release Dreamcast game before the PS2 and all that. So you got to hold it to that. The music is great and outstanding. The only thing that hampers it is the battle system. The battle system's good. I like turn-based battle systems, but the loading, it's very slow. It's very slow to load because of the Dreamcast disc, and then it goes to like a spinning cinematic move around. It loads your characters and it spins around the enemy characters, or vice versa, and then you can start combat. And then you enter your moves, and then it has to go through like the animations and stuff, and then it shows them running up to the guy and hitting him, and it takes a long time to do. So I was running away from a lot of combats, and I usually don't do that in RPGs. I usually fight everything, a lot of stuff, because I enjoy the combat, but I didn't enjoy the combat as much in this because it was so slow. But you don't have to grind in this game like Phantasy Star. Everything moves along very slow, very, very quickly. It's 2 discs, and there's like I drew this. There's like a green rock, paper, scissors mechanic. You see G, R, B, L, R, P, Y, and S. That's green, blue, red, purple, yellow, and silver. So these are, while you're in battle, you hit the Y button or X button to switch the color of your weapons. And that's an elemental color that you assign. And certain colors do different damages against other colored enemies. So a green, you see up there enemy defense at the top. If they're green and you attack them with green, it'll do equal damage. If you attack them with blue, it'll do less damage. If you attack them with red, it'll do more damage. So each character you got to constantly switch, like, to do the most damage. So I wrote this, and I had this pinned up on my TV as I was playing, so I know, okay, I don't have to remember this. So I recommend doing that. And that's another thing that slows the combat down. But yeah, it's great. You fly around the sky, you find new worlds, and you're like the first person to circumvent the world. It's just I never played a game, a pirate RPG like that. So this is a very cool game. Next up is Sparkster. This is the character from Rocket Knight Adventures on the Genesis, and then Sparkster. I beat the one on Genesis, Rocket Knight Adventures, maybe on easy a while ago, a few years back, and then I beat Rocket Knight Adventures, or Sparkster, Rocket Knight Adventures 2 on the Genesis last year, and I really liked that game. And this one is Sparkster on the Super Nintendo with the same character, and this game is very, very, very good. I like the first Rocket Knight adventure the best on the Genesis. This compared to this Genesis one, Sparkster on the Genesis, I think I like the one on the Genesis a little bit better. This one's still good, and the music's outstanding, especially Lakeside theme at the beginning is very good. All the sounds. There was one level in this game which was very, very tough for me. It was this overhead boxing view, where it took me forever to beat that stage. And when I finally beat it, it was just because I beat that quick enough to not lose all my continues on it. But if you see, compared to the other Rocket Knight adventures, this is probably my 3rd favorite one, but it's still very good. And it's different enough from the Sparkster on Genesis to warrant a play. You can do this with your shoulder buttons, do this slash forward, which you can do to really fly through people without getting hit. And you got to master that to really conquer this game. Not a very long game, not very difficult, but very, very, very fun. So with that, I beat all the Rocket Knight games, except the first one I haven't beaten, except on easy. So I want to eventually... But I did beat this game on hard to get the true ending. There is a true ending. You beat it on easy, it's only up to the end of the boxing stage. You beat it on normal, it's a little bit more. You beat the final boss, and then you stop him, and then on hard, you beat the final boss, but he does something that you gotta do one more quick level, and then you find another boss after that. And it's not super hard, but I was able to beat it a few playthroughs, once on easy, once on normal, and once on hard. Oh, my first Saturn game I ever beat, and this is Shining the Holy Ark. and this is a very fun game. I remember my friend playing Shining Force in high school, and I always liked the music and look of that game a lot. It had a good feel to it. The soundtrack was good. The characters looked great. This is kind of the same art and stuff of that style of game, except it's a first-person, instead of tacticals RPG, it's a first-person dungeon-crawling RPG, where it takes place in a world like a, I want to say that, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know much about the story, but it's all like early first-person graphics that are pretty good. This came out in around, I think, 1997. Okay. I thought that was wasn't that late, but, so you have a map, and it's a very small world. There's a few places, maybe 13 or so places you can go to, but they unlock as you go through the game. You start out and you're this, a swordsman Arthur with a wizard Ruin and his apprentice, I want to say, what's her name? Melody. She's like a healer, and Arthur is a wizard. You go into, you're summoned by the king of this country to get this ninja, Brody. And you don't know why, so you go there, and then something bad happens, and then this alien ship crashes into this mine, and you wake up, there's like a dream sequence, and you're possessed by these spirits. They possess you, the good ones possess you, Melody, and Rune, and Rhodey, who you fought, and the bad spirit possesses Rune. And you go out of the mine, and then you go to the castle, and then you find out that this apprentice to or chancellor to the king is an evil person, and then Rune, who's possessed by the evil spirit, is with her. And it goes from there. You got to stop the possession and free Rune, and he joins your party again. And then you find out, so you can't really die in this game. You die, but once if Arthur, Melody, or Rhodey die, as long as like one of them's alive, when you restart, the battle's over, they'll be regenerated with one hit point. So they can't die. Those three characters can't die. So as long as you end the battle with one of them, they'll be alive with one hit point. You meet some other characters during the game. I really like the dragon guy you get, Basso. Lisa is like a warrior paladin with him. And there's another ninja. I want to say, who is her name? I forget. She's Akumi, something like that. But it has great music, and it's a different RPG in that it's not like a world map. It's just like the world's like a level select, and the main dungeons, like the main point of the game is, okay, I'm going into a dungeon. The enemies are really strong at first. And I'm getting wiped out, but you gain levels, you get better equipment, and you can go further in a dungeon. And then you can zoom out with these items, save your progress, get what you collect, buy better items, go back in. So it takes, I think, some of the later dungeons took me 4 tries to go in. I'm getting low on HP and healing magic points. I have to go out, get better stuff. I gain some levels, so I get more stronger, and I can go back in. So it took me like 3 times to get in and out of a dungeon to finish it. It took me about maybe 30, 40 hours to beat. No, I want to say 50 or 60 hours to beat this game. My first Shining game I've ever beaten. This is a sequel to Shining in the Darkness on the Genesis, which I also have and I want to play. That one does not have an auto map though, so you got to map out your own or follow a map online. This one, when you're in a place, it's not mapped out, but as you walk along, you can pull up a map screen by hitting start, and it'll show you as you walk along, it'll map it in automatically, so you don't have to do that yourself. Very good game, made by Sonic Software Development Planning, who would become Camelot later and do a lot of the Mario sports games. So I'm happy to beat my first Saturn game, and it was a good one, and also my first Dreamcast game these past 2 months. Next up, I beat Shadow of the Ninja. I've wanted to beat this one for a while, and never sat down and did it. So I sat down, just finished it in about a weekend one time, or like a Saturday or so. Very short game, but very fun. The music's excellent. Gameplay's good. Tight play control. Sounds good. Plays well. Um, so you play as two ninjas. I forget their names, a boy and a girl, and it's also two-player co-op, but I did not play two-player co-op, just myself. I did go through the game once as the boy with the sword. You have two weapons, a sword, which you collect it once, and then you collect it again and again, and it'll get longer and shoot a little farther, like this blade. And when you get hit, it'll take it away. There's also a long whip kind of scythe thing that you can throw. So I beat it with the boy with the sword and the girl with the scythe thing. It like all platformers on the NES, there's a hook to it. You want to play and get further. It's not very long. It's only about 5 stages, 3 stages per main stage. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. So once you go through it, you know where all the enemies are. You can go through it again really quick. Very fun game. Really liked it. And next up, I played and beat Hook on the Super Nintendo. This was I was surprised by this game. I heard good things about it, and I liked the movie, so I felt like playing Hook. It looks great, sounds great, follows the story. Basically, Robin Williams' kids get kidnapped. You have to go with Tinkerbell into Never Land and rescue them. You move very slow in this game. There is a run, but it's almost hard to tell how you're running. You do run and you go a little bit faster, but it's still very slow. You find Tinkerbell and fill up your magic meter to fly, and when that decreases to 0, you can't fly anymore. So there's certain sections where you got to fly as Pan throughout the world. It's not very long, can be beaten really quickly. Took me a few tries to beat it. No password system, because it's not very long, but it's a very, very good game. If you like the Hook game, or the Hook movie, and you like Super Nintendo platformers, this is a very good one. Slow, but very good. The controls, I wouldn't say are bad. There's some wonky hit detection, but it's good. And we'll go on to that. And then next, the same developer. So that was published. So that was Sony ImageSoft. This is also Sony ImageSoft, and the same developer actually did Sky Blazer. This came out later, and it almost plays like a sequel to Hook, where they learned what they did on Hook and made it even better. You move faster in this game. It's longer. There's password systems. There's a lot. You can climb a wall and jump off a wall. You get special powers, like you get attacking like arc. You get like a dash that lets you dash like Mega Man X2. Get like a shot that shoots everywhere, like a spread shot in all directions. You get like, what else do you get? You can become invincible for a while. And there's some other powers too. You can turn into a phoenix at the end because you're like a sky person. So this one in Hook you can't really pick the levels. It goes automatically through them, so you can't go back and play other levels, I don't believe. This one you can. So there's a world map, and you can pick like Super Mario World, like you see paths, and you can go back to certain levels. And you want to do that to collect 1-ups to really beat this game until you get good at it, because there are some tricky parts in this game. It's not really super hard, but it can be challenging in points, so that you can go back and farm extra lives, which is what I did. Sounds great. You move a lot faster than in Hook, but it does really feel like a improved version of Hook. It's very good too. So that's Sky Blazer on the Super Nintendo. And last, I beat this game last weekend. That is Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. This is also on Genesis and Sega CD and 32X and Windows 95, and I think it came out on Game Boy Advance too. I played this Super Nintendo version. I think it was developed originally for the Genesis and ported to the Super Nintendo, I want to think. But this game, very, very good. So you know these shiny games like Aladdin, Cool Spot, Earthworm Jim's, where it's very good graphics, but your kind of like animation kind of slows you down. This kind of gives that feel, but it's not as bad as like where your certain moves kind of have to go through the animation. Um, the graphics are great. Like the characters look amazing. It's a very good homage to Pitfall, which I think I had growing up. I didn't play a lot, but there's like pits that open and close, and you got to jump over. There's alligators, you jump on their heads. Very fun game, not long, but you will die a lot. It will take you a few times to get through it because you got to learn like the level layouts and where to jump, what can I climb on. Because the levels, it has a feel of like those shiny games where you can go anywhere and you're like, well, where am I supposed to go? But once you learn how to do that and what to look for, the game really opens up. And it's a game I was thinking about after I beat it. I think this is a really good game. I really liked it a lot. I kind of want to play it again in a year or so. And the music's very atmospheric. It looks great. And it plays very well, too. So you have, like, it uses all the buttons on the Super Nintendo controller. So jump is B. Y is you're throwing, like, you have slingshot. You can throw a stone. A is, like, you can just whip with that slingshot. Y is, like, you can throw, like, a boomerang. And R or L buttons throw like a stone that explodes, and that's your best attack. You want to save that for your bosses, because the bosses are very, very fast, and you want to use that to kill them as quickly as possible, or otherwise you got to jump around them and hit them with a weaker stone. Yeah, there's lots of secrets in this game. If you explore Pitfall, at the end you get the best ending, but it's nothing more than you found all the secrets. Like, it's nothing great. I looked it up. I think I missed all but 1 or 2 letters. And the original Pitfall game is hidden in this game in like the 3rd level. And there's little mini games you can play hidden in the game. It's overall a very good game. Whew, boy, and that was a lot. That was all the games I beat over January and February of this year, 2020. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you again in 2 months or so as I dive into what I was playing and beating over, oh boy, March and April, getting into spring finally. Yes! Goodbye, winter. And I'm very happy that it has not been a bad winter here in Pennsylvania. It's been very mild. We only had 2 or 3 days of snow, and it's only like a few inches. It hasn't been super cold like in the teens. It's mainly been around the 30s and 20s. Very lucky. So that's been great. I can't wait for spring. Hopefully it's a nice spring. And I want to thank you all for watching. And let me know if you like any of these games or have any suggestions about these games that I might have missed or haven't talked about. I know I said a lot. And what games you were playing and you might want to talk about, or you have any feelings about these games. So take care.